this video, I'll be discussing followers of Baphomet, that is, people who follow the superconscious archetype of Baphomet. Baphomet is an interesting superconscious archetype as it embodies traits like disgust, greed, deception, and undermining others to get ahead. The Baphomet archetype is representative of the evil side of femininity. People with borderline personality disorder closely align with the Baphomet archetype, and there is a close relation between the two, although however they are not exactly the same. The Baphomet archetype is designed to be used in environments that are unstable in comfort, meaning comfort comes in unstable doses. This is a sign that someone is high in mutations, which is another trademark of the Baphomet archetype, being the archetype of mutants and inbreeding. Let's break down the Baphomet archetype into behaviors and traits. One is ugliness. Baphomet is an ugly, ram-headed, fat, obese goat man. Hermaphrodite, sorry. Number two is obese. Baphomet is obese. Obesity is a way to hoard resources, which brings us on to our next trait. It's greedy. Baphomet is greedy as a short-term strategy to hoard resources before the resources run out. 4 is envious, which is related to our greed in our next trait. 5 gains pleasure from undermining others. Undermining others is a way to gain status without violence, and so gaining pleasure in it makes sense from a conniving point of view. 6 is manipulative. Baphomet followers might use deception and manipulation as their ways of gaining status and undermining others. 7 is narcissistic. Baphomet is narcissistic as a defense mechanism over their denial of adaptability to the environment, which Baphomet is not well adapted to because they are mutated. And 8 is impulsive. Baphomet is impulsive as a short-term survival strategy. And 9 is heightened disgust response. Because Baphomet is poorly adapted to the environment, Baphomet may have traits that accentuate having a heightened disgust response, like having a big nose as a way to ward off disease, as Baphomet is vulnerable to disease because they are not well adapted to the environment. When thinking of Baphomet, most people think of women, or some people will think of Jews and other groups that they follow the Baphomet archetype closely. Baphomet is the software we use to gain power without violence or the threat of violence. So now that we know how a follower of Baphomet behaves, can we further identify them in a way that they look? Unfortunately, the Jewish religion chose the hexagram star, which is actually a star related to Baphomet archetype. See here. This star represents instability, or better represents instability causing, as it is encoded into our superconscious that represents instability causing shape. Other indicators, signs like piercings or strangely coloured hair. This desire to disfigure oneself and make oneself uglier is a sign of the Baphomet follower. Baphomet could easily be interpreted as toxic femininity, although there are a lot of males also follow the Baphomet archetype too. It is mostly used by females as a connection with their fertility, and they are able to create a very strong combination of fertility presenting and yet overall toxic and abrasive behaviour. That is the story of Adam and Eve is about. The snake is often represented as feminine for this exact reason. Women behave like snakes guarding the fruit, and it is important for women to act this way, otherwise any idiot would be able to take the fruit. So look through the snake's deceptive nature and truth check it would have granted Adam immortality, which is really the code for passing on your genes with an access to fertility. The story of Medusa is the same. Reflect the feminine toxicity back at her face by fact-checking her, and you get access to Andromeda. And that brings us to the ultimate purpose of the Baphomet archetype. To weed out people who cannot see the truth clearly, to poison and blur the lines of reality, to disfigure what is there, to trick people. The followers of Baphomet simply cannot help but to try and weed out people who cannot see the truth clearly, as it is their genetic role to try and limit the access to fertility by tricking people throughout various means. This can mean their own fertility or someone else's fertility. Baphomet's role is to limit access to fertility. And that brings us to our conclusion. Followers of Baphomet have their goal of reducing access to fertility through deception and trickery. A small number of Jews and women are followers of Baphomet, although they are disproportionately followers of Baphomet compared to other groups.